The Mongol Empire, vast and unparalleled, sprawled across the lands like a relentless storm. Under Genghis Khan's leadership, the steppes became not just a land of warriors, but a thriving, organized empire that connected east and west in ways previously thought impossible. As Genghis Khan consolidated power, the empire's internal structure began to take shape. No longer just a loose confederation of tribes, the Mongol Empire became a well-oiled machine. Temujin's rise from an outcast to a ruler had not only forged a nation, but also a new vision of governance, one based on merit rather than birthright. He abolished the old tribal hierarchies that often plagued his enemies and instead promoted individuals based on skill, loyalty, and worth. The Mongol way of life shifted dramatically. Once nomadic and fragmented, the Mongol people found themselves bound by the laws of the empire, the Yasa, a code that covered everything from military conduct to cultural norms. Genghis Khan, a deeply pragmatic ruler, understood the importance of unity and stability in his newly formed empire, and he took every step necessary to enforce it. Trade routes flourished as merchants were granted protection, and people of all cultures found a place under Mongol rule, transforming cities from barren outposts to bustling centers of commerce. But Genghis Khan's brilliance was not just on the battlefield. His empire's success also rested on a system of laws that was ahead of its time. The Yasa, Genghis Khan's code of law, was enforced with unwavering discipline. It was a blend of military regulations and social justice, governing every aspect of Mongol life. His laws were designed to prevent infighting, foster loyalty, and establish order in a vast, diverse empire. Punishments were swift and severe, but the code also emphasized the protection of the weak and the fair treatment of those who pledged allegiance to the Mongol Empire. Under his rule, Genghis Khan established a system that allowed both nomadic and sedentary societies to coexist peacefully. He recognized the value of the intellectual and artistic world, inviting scholars, artisans, and scientists from all corners of the empire to contribute to the advancement of Mongol society. The Silk Road, which connected Europe and Asia, became the lifeblood of commerce and culture, underlining Genghis Khan's vision of a connected world. The clash of swords and the thunder of hooves echoed across the plains as Genghis Khan's armies swept through the land. Every battle, every siege, was a calculated maneuver designed to bend the will of the world to his vision. Genghis Khan's approach to battle was revolutionary. He understood that speed and surprise were just as deadly as strength. His tactics often involved overwhelming his enemies with sheer force, but it was his psychological warfare that truly set him apart. He spread fear through rumors of his invincibility, creating a legend that preceded him and destabilized his enemies before a single arrow was even fired. For example, in the Battle of Khwarezm, Genghis Khan faced the Shah of Khwarezm. After an initial diplomatic exchange went horribly wrong, his trade caravan was massacred. Genghis Khan unleashed a wrath unlike any other. His forces decimated the Khwarezmian army with the precision of a master tactician, using deception and a perfectly timed feigned retreat to lure the enemy into a deadly trap. His cruelty afterward sent shockwaves throughout the region. The Shah, who underestimated Genghis Khan, paid the price with his empire's destruction. On other occasions, Genghis Khan's genius lay in his flexibility. At the Battle of the Indus River, he combined brute force with brilliance. When his forces faced a fortified enemy, Genghis Khan didn't rely on siege weaponry alone. He used psychological tactics, sending false retreats to confuse the defenders. Meanwhile, his main force prepared for a direct assault, catching the defenders off guard. The outcome was a decisive victory and the expansion of Mongol influence further into India. But not all of Genghis Khan's battles were won with brute force. His military genius also lay in his ability to adapt to circumstances, bringing together cavalry, archers, and engineers to form an unstoppable army. He often sent scouts ahead to gather intelligence and carefully positioned his troops to outflank or overwhelm his foes, ensuring a swift victory with minimal losses. But Genghis Khan's legend was not only built on bloodshed and conquest, it was also steeped in the mystical, the spiritual, and the deeply personal. One such story that grew with the passage of time was the tale of the birthmark. The Mongol people, fiercely proud of their heritage, passed down stories of a mysterious birthmark that marked Genghis Khan and his descendants. This mark, often depicted as a blood-red stain, became a symbol of divinity. It was said that anyone born with this mark had the blood of the great Khan running through their veins, and thus the right to rule. Over generations, the myth evolved, intertwining with the Mongol concept of leadership. In a culture where power was passed down through lineage and martial prowess, the birthmark became an emblem of divine right, ensuring that the bloodline of Genghis Khan would never be questioned. Whether real or symbolic, this story helped to solidify the Khan's status as a leader chosen by the heavens, destined to lead the Mongols to greatness. By the time Genghis Khan's reign reached its peak, his empire spanned across Asia and Europe, with cities falling at the stroke of his command. But his greatest challenge was yet to come. It was not simply the empire that Genghis Khan sought to build, but a world that would bend to his rule. But by the final years of his life, cracks began to appear in the very empire he had fought so hard to create. The vastness of the empire, once a testament to his genius, began to show signs of stress. As Genghis Khan expanded the empire, managing such a sprawling territory became increasingly difficult. The governance of newly conquered regions required constant attention, and internal struggles over succession and loyalty began to surface. His sons and grandsons, though capable, lacked the unifying strength that their father possessed. Rivalries and disputes among the successors created division where once there was unity. The legendary cohesion of the Mongol army started to fray, and his final campaigns were overshadowed by the challenge of keeping his empire intact. The very thing that made Genghis Khan a legend, the sheer breadth of his conquest, also became the seed of his empire's eventual decline. The empire's internal fractures, coupled with the difficulty of managing such vast territories, foreshadowed the challenges that would come after his death. His sons, left to inherit a sprawling world, faced the monumental task of holding together what their father had built. As Genghis Khan lay on his deathbed, the question remained: would his legacy endure, or would it crumble under the weight of his ambition? His final years were marked by this uncertainty, making the empire's future unclear. This uncertainty is what sets the stage for the next chapter, the Mongol Empire's fate after Genghis Khan's passing, and the true test of his legacy.